Wow, it's time for another show full of tips and ideas from the sales growth leadership expert, Dean Akers. Known for his experience in hyper-growing companies and creating cultures for high-performance teams, here's Dean.
So welcome to our 54th episode. Again, I really appreciate all the feedback I'm getting. I appreciate all the downloads. Last week I got a lot of feedback about the getting around the tree in the road. As a matter of fact, some of the people that reached out to me, I've called and we've talked about it with their teams, and some of my own teams we've been talking about getting the tree out of the road. Again, that was kind of a really one of those subtle revolutionary things in teaching your teams on how to overcome situations that they already know how to do, and they do it in their life every day. Sent a lot of books out last week, and somebody asked me, how do you get a book again? And the book is Self-Talk, Think Like a Child. It's my newest book. And if you want it, I've made it really easy. It's free. I'll mail it out to you, and just go to email book at deanakers.com, and I'll get one of these out to you at absolutely no charge. A lot of people are giving me a lot of good feedback on it. It's a fun book. I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you enjoy our podcast. So this week, working with clients and working with different folks, I came back to one of the basic fundamentals that we're always dealing with in sales. And so I want to go back and reiterate the power of asking questions. Now, somebody says, well, I ask questions, and everybody goes, oh, okay, great, you ask questions. We're using recorder pens again. I've got recorder pens that I make available. If you want them, just go to Dean at deanakers.com. I'll get you a deal on them. And we wear them out when we're trying to ask questions, and we don't use it other than to really develop where the train wreck happened. And when our ninjas wear them and we record back or listening, 100% of the time, and that's a pretty big word, but 100% of the time, we can see the train wreck before the crash site, where they didn't ask questions, they started talking too much, and such as that. Which why this week in this week's show, I want to reiterate asking great open-ended questions. And just like if you're in sports, you need to practice this all the time. You need to practice the questions. And then another thing you want to do is with somebody, take those questions and constantly look at reframing them. And I had some great instances of that this week. I have somebody that sells businesses, and she and I were talking, and she was saying, well, I try to sell businesses, but I'm competing against people because the people really are looking for a job because the job market's so good right now. They're just getting jobs versus buying a business. And I go, okay, so when you're sitting down talking with a prospect, or you're talking just out in general, how do you frame that out? And she goes, well, I tell them what I do, blah, 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 blah. And I go, probably, and we started brainstorming some questions. If it was me, I would probably ask this question if I was selling businesses. A, what is the benefit of buying a business? Well, there's a number of them, Dean, she says, and she goes, being your own boss, financial rewards, on and on and on. So I asked her a question. I said, pretend I'm calling you, and you and I are talking, and somebody says, well, what do you do? I said, well, can I ask you a question first? If you had a choice of having a job or being a millionaire, which would you choose? And then shut up and watch them. They're going to say, I want to be a millionaire. Then you'll ask this question. In most cases, how many people with a job become millionaires? The answer is probably not too many, unless you have a job like an NBA basketball player or somebody that's in the high echelons of some kind of job. So in the instance, when she says that, they say, well, how would that ever happen? And she goes, by buying a business. Would you be interested in buying a business? Yeah, but I can't buy a business. I said, that isn't what I asked you. would you be interested in buying a business and reframing out and maybe changing your life to have the opportunity to become a millionaire? Well, they're probably going to say yes. And then you start taking them down the question site and you work it out from there and get them excited. So it comes back to, are you selling a business or selling a job? And what happens is most people are always selling features and benefits, which brings me back to my customer puke protector. And by the way, you can get this at dean@deanakers.com, or if you go to the book at deanakers.com and say, hey, also send me with the book the customer close protector, I'll do that. But at the end of the day, if you're not asking great questions and you're puking all over your customers features and benefits, features and benefits, features and benefits, you're going to run into trouble. And the key thing is finding out what they want, finding out what the results are they want, not the features they want. And if you can deliver the results, then you're going to probably have a sale. And you're usually going to have a sale without a competitive market. And so you want to make sure that you practice asking open-ended questions, reframing your questions. Do it with one of your peers and see what questions make the most sense. I just had a meeting with one of my groups and we were doing this exact exercise, and we've been doing it the last 3 or 4 weeks. And we came up with several questions that are game-changing to their business, and they're seeing the results. One of our team on the phone today, because we do a statewide meeting, she shared how she reframed the question, and now all of a sudden she's getting tons of more engagement and more business, and it's without puking all over the customer. So this is still going to be the week of the question. I want you to practice, reframe, practice, reframe, practice. If you need be, get a recorder pen, record your questions. If you're out on a call, put it in your pocket, record. Go back and see how those questions worked, or more importantly, when you record and listen back, you're usually going to see where the customer got derailed and you allowed it to happen by either puking on them or not asking great questions. So it brought up another big question, or one of my groups was saying this week, they were talking about competition, and all they could do is talk about how the competitor's product was so much better. So much better. Dean, you don't understand. Our product is not as good, and blah, 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 blah. So then I asked, does our product work well for the client? And the answer was, yeah, it works well, but it looks old, doesn't work out that well as far as how it looks. The competitors look 10 times better. You know, when we're on a deal, if I'm on the deal, somebody picks the competitor. So then we did some analysis, and we found this unique product. All the competitors combined probably don't even have 20% of the market. So everybody that's out there competing with this, quote, thing that'll help a customer, 80% or better of the people, mathematically we even went down to 60% of the people, have nothing. So all the people are competing to try to get that 60%. That being said, we're still getting deals by getting out in front of the customer. And when we lose a deal, these odd out loose deals that we have because of a competitor has a better product, it becomes irrelevant because 60% of the market has nothing. I equate it to selling cars. If people have never had a car and you're selling the lower end car and you're the first person to get excited about 4 wheels driving them down the road versus walking, do you think they're going to be happy with that car? Absolutely. Do you think somewhere down the line they might buy a fancier car? My first car was a $600 used car. I mean, I thought it was the greatest car in the world because I went from walking to now having a car. Later on, I progressed and had several Mercedes, and my last Mercedes was an SL 600 12-cylinder 500 horsepower car. Do you think that was different than my first car? The answer is yes. They were all cars, but I started out with a car because I went from walking to getting in a car. So if you're selling something and you're worried about the competition, make sure that, is it really a competition issue or is it the customer's not doing anything? And in a lot of companies I find, we're sitting there worried about how the competition's working out when we find out that the customer doesn't even know what we and our industry does. So This week, I want you to go out there and I really want you to practice hard asking questions. I want you to remember, do not puke on your customer. I want you to get with your friends in your business and practice and reframe and practice asking questions. If need be, order a recorder pen and just listen back to your presentations or listen back when you're interacting with customers. When you do this, you're going to be shocked, because what you're going to find is you're going to see where the train wreck happened before the crash site. So get out there, ask questions, practice, reframe, ask questions, practice, reframe, and remember, if you want the book, just go to book@deanakers.com. I'll get that out to you. If you want the Customer Puke Protector, I'll get that out to you. And I really appreciate everybody's feedback. I appreciate everybody reaching out to me. I appreciate all my downloads across the country and across the world. And thank you for letting me be part of your success. Have a great week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's show. Subscribe today to our podcast and send questions or thoughts to help@deanakers.com. Also, visit us at www.deanakers.com to listen to prior shows and view helpful videos. Also, great tips to download. Thanks again. See you next week.